James had a serious problem with the diesel engines. He doesn't hate all of them, but most of them can seriously get on his nerves, especially the last diesel. But the other engines on Sodor accept them.
I think they're alright, James. They're definitely like us, like being mixed traffic engines.
You mean mixed up engines? They can be nothing but trouble. I mean, look at them. They have two cabs, so how can they even see when someone is coming?
Well, the perfect example of that is Toby. He has two cabs and he can see just fine without any trouble.
But here's the difference. Toby is small, and most of the diesels are big. I can't even tell which way to go very well whenever I go backwards. Sometimes I just wonder what this railway is even becoming. The engines decided to say nothing to him and all agreed that James was just getting into his smoke box and being puffed up as well.
I can't tell if he's making out with his royalty or something. It's just times like this where I just can't stand him. It's disgusting.
That's funny, because I once knew an engine named King James back in Paddington. The difference is that he didn't swerve around, or care about his paintwork, or being a hothead.
That's a shame. Otherwise we would have been telling this to James about that. Then he would change his mind about his actions. It's better than misery he be making in our lives.
I agree, but what trim is real for him, we don't even have hands to do it ourselves.
The engines tried to come up with many ideas, but they got nothing. James got so annoyed that he puffed out of his shed. The engines were very proud that he did, so they wouldn't deal with his nonsense till nighttime. When James got to the yards, the coaches and trucks were annoyed by him as well. James hated it and did his job. Shouting. It would be a lot easier if the Scottish twins did it. Then this job would have been done much quicker. But Donald and Douglas had to help Edward on his branch line. He got crosser and crosser as time passed by. He shunted the trucks so hard that they were screaming in pain. Ow! What in the world is happening? The single man accidentally fell asleep after drinking hot cocoa, so when James got his load of trucks ready, he blew his whistle. That made the single man jump and thought it was another engine, so he switched the points at the worst timing. Some of the trucks went to the other tracks and couldn't stop, but then it got even worse. One of the trucks went off the tracks and hit the signal, and fell straight down to the tracks. Everything was a mess. Sir Topham Hatt walked out of his office immediately and saw the mess. He walked up to James and spoke to him.
James, you have caused a serious accident. It's a good thing that nobody got hurt. But you should know better than to go while the points have been switched. Now the stations will be delayed till this mess is cleared up.
James knew that it wasn't his fault, but he didn't want to make things worse, so he kept quiet. When he was at the sheds that night, he could hear the other engines talking about what happened that day.
Well, I guess James proved us that it is difficult to see what's behind us since we don't have two cabs. We better be more careful now since we only have one, or else we will cause an accident like James did.
The other engines laughed. James ignored them and went to sleep at once, hoping he wouldn't have another rough day.